Welcome to the Fray Flag Pack. It's Termex here and welcome back to another build video. Today we're going to be updating my previous most popular video on my channel. Don't know how it has that many views. Thank you guys so much for that, first of all. But so many people have been requesting a updated version, and since all these updates happened, we're almost 3 months later. So I decided to make an updated, overpowered Mayhem 4 can solo 99% of what this game has to offer build. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's get right into the build. Alright, starting things off quick here, we're going to be going right into the Hunter skill tree. This is where most of our crit damage is going to be coming from, because the way this build works, crit damage is your best friend. As you guys know, if you're a Flak player, crit damage is a big part of how you play in your play style. Starting off, we're going to put 5 points into Interplanetary Stalker, just so when we kill an enemy we get gun damage and all these other cool bonuses. It's just a good perk to have. 5 out of 5 in a Hunter's Eye, because when we're against robots, we're going to have more armor damage. Humans in general, we're going to have bonus crit damage. 15% makes a big difference, believe it or not. And if we're fighting any beasts, we're going to be taking less damage. 5 out of 5 in a Two Fang, because the Infinity Pistol obviously never has to reload and never consumes ammo. It's nice to have another chance to have an extra projectile. Now we're going to be putting 3 out of 3 into the most dangerous game, just so when we kill a badass, we're going to be getting 25% more gun damage and 10% more crit for 120 seconds, and this is going to be boosted by our other skill, which is Big Game, which is almost going to double the whole duration, so it's almost a 4-minute duration, and you come across badasses quite frequently in Mayhem 4, so this isn't a big issue in terms of duration, but the effects are boosted, as you guys can read right there. And you're going to put 1 point into Galactic Shadow. Doing this gives you a flat out 15% critical hit damage increase, which I think is amazing for this build. It doesn't need it, but it's amazing to have. Over into the Stalker tree, we're going to be putting 5 out of 5 in a Furious Attack. So every time we shoot an enemy, we gain more gun damage and handling, which is useful because we're never going to reload. So we're basically going to constantly have this ability at 10 out of 10 stacks, which is amazing. It's really good to have. 3 out of 5 into self-repairing systems, just so we can get to this part of the tree. Then we're going to be putting 5 out of 5 into overclocked. Now, we're not going to be getting the reload fire rate bonus from this, but we're going to get out the flat fire rate bonus from this, because most Infinity Pistols only have a fire rate of 7.8 up to, I think the highest I've seen is 8.9. They're kind of slow, but if you have a fire rate buff like this, the 10% helps out a lot. Along with turn, tail, and run. When we stand still, we're going to be getting an additional 12% fire rate and 25% gun damage, which is always nice. And while on the move, we will be receiving a lot less damage and getting our health back, which is very useful for survivability. 1 out of 1 into Lick the Wounds. I just think for a solo player, any solo Flak build, you need this because you die in dumb ways sometimes, and your pet's going to be there to help you. 3 out of 3 into the Fast and the Furious, because we're going to be getting more gun damage above half health and movement speed, along with pet damage, which isn't fully needed, but Flak has a pet, might as well make him stronger. My class mod just boosts this to 5 of 3, which makes the gun damage almost 50%, which is kind of crazy. Then you're going to want 5 out of 5 into Hidden Machine. Doing this makes it so every time you go into fadeaway, basically since your pet is out, you're going to be getting a flat out 30% more damage on top of everything else here. Just a good bonus to have. And then finally, you're going to get the capstone of the Power Inside. This is like not the bread and butter of the build, but this is like one of the main damage dealers of the build. But as you guys know, if you're at full health, it's doubled, so it's 50% more damage upon activating your action skill. And you're going to put 1 point into Persistence Hunter, because that's the last place to put it. Might as well get gun damage and action skill duration. And here is my Guardian rank. I am rank 289, and here are all my boosts to show that the boosts itself are not making the build amazing. There's a lot of builds out there with 500-600 Guardian rank. This does not make the build amazing. If you're a new player and you do this build, it will be just as effective. Alright, now before we get into the bread and butter of this build and all the gear, I just want to let you guys know that I did farm most of this gear myself. I want to let you guys know a very good subscriber of mine called Marcus UK. I talked to him a lot on Discord, and he hooked me up with some gear. He saw that I was in trade chat on the Borderlands community forums, and I was looking for a better relic for more pistol damage, and he hooked me up. He's a really nice guy, and honestly, I appreciate what he did, and he helped this build become even more overpowered than it already was, so big shout out to him. He's probably in the comments somewhere, so just make yourself known, Marcus, okay? Let the people hit that like for you. Speaking of likes, hit the like on this video, and if this gets more popular than my first flak pistol build video, I have a big project coming up. If it does, I doubt it will, but if it does, yeah, you guys will see. It's going to be a big project. But anyway, onto the build. Onto the build are infinity pistols. We're going to start off with them. I have an electric infinity, a cryo infinity, and a fire infinity. Now I also have a radiation infinity with a very good anointment, but radiation is it's a weird thing because it never melts just one thing. It's decent against everything, but we're going for raw damage here, so these are the main infinities I use. Now the anointments are kind of useless on these two, but on the cryo one it's actually pretty nice. So when my fadeaway ends, I deal 125% more damage to badasses, named, and boss enemies, which is really good for boss kills or just the tough enemies that you need to melt through. So get yourself any infinity, preferably an elemental one, because a non-elemental infinity is not really the best thing you want, to be honest with you, and it'll just have more damage output if it has an element. Onto the class mod, you're gonna need the Stackbot class mod. To get this class mod, you need to farm, I believe, the last boss in the Handsome Jack DLC, the Handsome Jackpot, sorry. Whenever Flak scores a critical hit, when it's just normal critical hits or fadeaway critical hits also count, he gains increased weapon damage until you don't score a critical hit anymore. As far as I can tell, this effect stacks up to around 50% more critical hit damage, which is actually pretty good, but it takes like 10 to 12 seconds to get up to that point. Now, in terms of the effects this class mod has, the 31% action skill cooldown rate is very useful for more fadeaway uses quicker. The 45% Jacob's weapon critical hit damage is not very useful for what we're doing, but it's there. And we get the raw 31% pistol damage, which is going to impact our pistols a lot, which is why this is a very good class mod and has very good rolls as well. Over to the relic, we're going to have the Snowdrift idol. Now the reason behind this, I just love the Snowdrift. The Snowdrift is fast, it's quick moving, it's efficient, and you feel like the Flash, which I enjoy. But it has 17% pistol damage, 21% action skill cooldown rate. From just our gear alone, we're getting around 52% action skill cooldown rate, which is halving our time to wait for our ability with no skill points or anything, which is amazing. And the 40% magazine size doesn't really mean much because, you know, it's an infinity pistol. And on the relic, the 18% of your max health after a kill is actually kind of useful for survivability, but it's not a big deal. In terms of the grenade, any grenade counts, but I got this specifically because when your fadeaway ends, you gain 50% bonus cryo damage with any weapon for 10 seconds, which I think is amazing if you're running fire and there's an armored enemy, because if you guys don't know, cryo is a 3-star effect on armored enemies. It's just as effective as corrosive, and it makes it so you don't have to switch infinities, which you're going to have to be doing, unfortunately, and there's no rainbow infinity unless someone made a build about that, but it's amazing to have, and it's good to use even with the cryo infinity, because if you can get the 125% weapon damage and the 50% cryo to proc at the same time, it's kind of a monster of a weapon. Now onto the shield, we're going to have the backham for the reflect chance, and if we get shot in the back, it's reduced damage, which is useful. Now I know it's anointed siren, but that's not anything that we're going to have to be doing. I just got it because it's my only backham, so ignore the anointment, guys. Don't worry about that. And I forgot to mention, over to your abilities and pets, you're going to want Fadeaway, Gorillas in the Mist, and Unblinking Eye, the standard. But for your pet, you're going to want the Spider Ant Scorcher, just because you're going to be getting bonus elemental damage along with a little bit of survivability, but that 10% damage helps a lot with our infinity pistols. Alright, so let's go test this build out. I will have some boss kills on the screen right now. As you guys can see, it's very, very good damage on most of the bosses. My old infinity pistol build couldn't take out bosses as efficiently. It really couldn't. Like, I think that was a big downfall of that build, but you guys gave a lot of support on that video, which I appreciate. But the downfall was you couldn't take the infinity to every fight. But this infinity build you can take to every fight regardless of the modifiers in Mayhem 4. I even got minus 15% crit damage from that enemy's take, and this build still works perfectly fine. Now, you're not going to be speed killing every boss, obviously, but that's your sacrifice for having infinite ammo, not having to reload. You're going to kill everything you want, but when it comes to bosses, it's going to take a little bit longer, but I think it's a good trade-off but you can always switch to another weapon if you want for bosses, but this works perfectly fine without that. But going into actual gameplay here, I am in the Handsome Jack DLC. I have not progressed for you guys watching my playthroughs. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead. There's an annotation in the top right about now. You guys can see. But if we roll over here where all these enemies are, I could show you guys. Oh, let me show you the modifiers first. We do bonus shock damage, but enemies' weapons are more accurate. I'm going to be using the cryo one just for showing purposes, just so you guys can see the damage it deals. Now, the way these enemies spawn over here is kind of weird. They don't always spawn efficiently. Like, they'll come out in like little clusters, which I think is kind of weird. But it works. Things work out over here. But as you guys can see, some enemies, they melt to cryo, especially the robots. The robots, they melt to cryo in Mayhem 4. Now, the thing about this, right when you pop into fadeaway, that's when things get rolling. That's when things, if my aim wasn't so bad, but that's when things get melting. And that's why I like ice. You can melt right through their armor and then get right into their health because cryo is efficient with both, which I think is a good feature because cryo was good in the pre-sequel, but it was good for a different reason. It was good because you're able to freeze everybody. But other than that, guys, this build is very fun. And like I said before, not everyone likes the Infinity Pistol build. I understand that. I understand fully. Some people don't like the playstyle. Let me get Scorch Jr. here real quick. But if you're a big fan of the Infinity, you either search this video or you came across it and you recommended, I guess. Or maybe it came and you recommended for no reason. I don't know. But, yeah, this is definitely a fun build. I love this build. It's what I've been using for a little while, and it's probably what I'm going to be using to get through this DLC in my playthrough. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, tips, or things you guys want to tell me about the build in the comments, or something I screwed up on, let me know in a nice way, please. In a nice way. Just for Scorch Jr., please. But, yeah, guys, you guys are awesome. We're on the verge of 600 subscribers. We're going to be getting that 1,000 subs by the end of 2020. That's what we're doing, boys. But, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the build. Have fun with it. Make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to support what I do here. And hope you guys have a terrific day. And I'll see you guys later.